The world was still in mourning. The scars of World War II had barely begun to heal. But quietly, behind the scenes of the incipient Cold War, a new threat was preparing to re-terror the skies. Not with the march of tanks, nor with the echo of rifles. This time, the conflict would take place above the clouds, with jets, and not just any jet. In November 1950, over the frozen skies of Korea, a new sound echoed. A metallic roar unlike anything that had ever been heard before, that transcended the barriers of time and military strategy. It was the MiG-15, a Soviet fighter born of the feverish arms race that followed the armistice that not only challenged the United States, but exposed a deep fear coming from the East. This is the jet that redefined aerial combat forever. By 1945, World War II was over. But for the Soviets, a new war, one of technological superiority, was just beginning. The Soviet Union, with its vast territorial expanse and history of devastating invasions, understood more than any nation that without air dominance, it would be at a critical disadvantage in any future confrontation. Military aviation was not just a tool for combat, it was a fundamental pillar of national security and global power projection. It was in this context of urgency and ambition that the Mikoyan-Gurevich Design Bureau, led by the brilliant Artem Mikoyan and Mikhail Gurevich, was tasked with creating something radical, a jet fighter that could rival or even surpass the Western powers. But they did not start from scratch. The Soviets, with their notorious skill at reverse engineering and appropriating enemy technology, captured Nazi plans and even scientists and engineers after the fall of the Third Reich. In particular, the Messerschmitt P-1101 project, a German prototype jet fighter with swept wings, served as a crucial inspiration. The swept wing concept would be a key aerodynamic element that shaped the design of what would become the MiG-15, ensuring greater speed and stability at high speeds. But what about the heart of the machine, the engine? In a deal that now sounds almost surreal and one of the greatest intelligence blunders in history, the British government in 1946 legally sold Rolls-Royce Neame jet engines to the Soviets. The belief was that this technology was so complex that it could never be militarized or replicated on a large scale by the USSR. A monumental miscalculation. Moscow not only masterfully copied every screw and component, producing the Klimov RD-45, a direct copy of the Neame, but adapted the engine, perfecting it for the demands of the new fighter. The result was an incredibly fast, lethal machine that was frighteningly simple and robust to manufacture, perfectly in line with the Soviet philosophy of mass production and uncomplicated maintenance. The MiG-15 wasn't just beautiful, it was brutal. Its performance raised the bar for military aviation at the time to a new level. With a top speed of 675 miles per hour, or 1,075 kilometers per hour at sea level, and the ability to exceed that mark in dives, the MiG-15 was an agile and relentless predator in the skies. Its operational altitude of an impressive 50,000 feet, or 15,000 meters, allowed it to intercept and engage even bombers flying at the limit of their capabilities, a crucial strategic advantage for a country concerned with defending its vast territory. But the true essence of its brutality lay in its armament. Unlike Western fighters, which often prioritize smaller caliber machine guns, the MiG-15 carried a devastating arsenal designed to destroy larger, more robust aircraft. A 37mm Noodleman N-37 cannon, an aerial artillery piece capable of destroying a heavy bomber with a single well-placed shot or a short burst. To complement this devastating power, the fighter had two 23mm NR-23 cannons, ensuring a massive and devastating volume of fire, capable of pulverizing any aerial target with lethal precision.
This combination of heavy calibers was a Russian innovation that would surprise the West. Its structure was robust and relatively simple, designed to be easily manufactured and assembled, reflecting the Soviet logic of prioritizing quantity over functional and battlefield-proven quality. This approach allowed for unprecedented mass production. Within months, hundreds of MiG-15s were operational, trained and ready for any confrontation, radically transforming the balance of power in the air and paving the way for what was to come.
The American generals were unprepared. They had dominated the skies of World War II, and they considered themselves unassailable. But the MiG was. On November 1st, 1950, in the frozen skies of Korea, a shocking event marked the official entry of the MiG-15 into the war. A B-29 Superfortress, the giant bomber that had terrorized German and Japanese cities in World War II, was shot down with alarming ease by a MiG-15. This was no casual encounter. It was a display of brutal superiority. The warning sounded like a thunderclap in Washington. The U.S. Air Force had a new enemy, superior in many ways, and it needed an immediate response. The answer came in the form of the F-86 Sabre, America's most advanced jet fighter, and so began the greatest and most intense dogfight of the jet age, MiG-15 versus Sabre. The main stage of this epic confrontation was the legendary MiG Alley, a strategic area in northwestern North Korea that became the ultimate battleground for air supremacy. Here, innovative tactics were developed, maneuvers were perfected, and the doctrine of modern air combat began to be written in the midst of the battle. A curiosity that had a high impact on retention and which reveals Soviet cunning and discretion is that Soviet pilots participated in disguise. Without insignia or any identification that connected them to Moscow, they flew as if they were North Korean or Chinese. This kept the direct involvement of the Soviet Union hidden, but the training and experience of its best pilots was effective and decisive. Among these disguised aces, Major Nikolai Sutyagin stood out, becoming the greatest jet ace in history, with an incredible 21 confirmed kills in Korea alone. The Soviet strategy was clear: test and refine the new war machine in real combat, without provoking direct escalation with the United States, but ensuring that communist air power was undeniable. By the end of the conflict, the numbers were grim for both sides, but the strategic impact was clear. While some 800 MiGs were shot down, more than 1,100 aircraft, including dozens of B-29s and many F-86s, were also lost. The world would never again underestimate Soviet air power. The MiG-15 proved to be a formidable adversary, a game-changer that redefined tactics, technology, and perception of air combat in the golden age of the jet fighter.
The MiG-15 was not just Soviet. It was a symbol of the communist bloc, an instrument of power projection, and a fundamental tool in the military doctrine of several nations. More than 18,000 units were manufactured, a testament to its efficiency and Soviet industrial capacity. It became the standard fighter for China, North Korea, Egypt, Poland, Cuba, and East Germany, among many other countries that gravitated in the Soviet orbit or that sought an alternative to Western weapons. It trained generations of pilots, standardized the concept of socialist aerial warfare, and established the model of aeronautical engineering that would be replicated and improved. Subsequent projects, such as the notorious MiG-17, which would face the Americans in the skies of Vietnam with great success, were born directly from the lessons and design of the MiG-15. Even today, its design and operating philosophy is present in modern fighters. The pursuit of high speed, brutal firepower, and the ability to be mass-produced with simplified maintenance are principles that the MiG-15 embodied and that continue to guide the development of combat aircraft around the world. It was not just a fighter, it was an archetype.
Today, it is retired, but it is still remembered with respect and awe. The MiG-15's legacy has transcended the battlefield and the Iron Curtain, finding its place in museums, popular culture, and collective memory. MiG-15s are on display in museums in the United States, Russia, China, and several European nations, silent testaments to an era of intense conflict and technological advancement. It still occasionally participates in historic air shows featuring veteran pilots who had the chance to fly this legendary machine. In entertainment, its silhouette is recognizable in games like War Thunder, Call of Duty, and in films like Red Tails, solidifying its iconic status. Its image has become a symbol of an era when a single fighter could, in fact, redefine the global balance of power. The MiG-15 is not just a piece of metal, it is a tangible piece of history, echoing the roar of an arms race that shaped the 20th century.
The MiG-15 was more than just an airplane. It was the aerial expression of an ideology, an artifact of war that represented the urgency, fear, and pride of a people. A cruel reminder that the race for supremacy doesn't always start on the ground. Sometimes it starts in the clouds. Did you like this flight through the Cold War? Then subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment below. Was the MiG-15 really the most influential jet in history, or is there another that deserves that title? Let's talk. Until next time.